morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Monday. It's Monday. It's about 8 a.m. because my alarm just went off not too long ago. We're going to try something different. If you watch my very first Monday sit down video, either the first or second, I left my kittens out and they were running amok. So I had to put them back. And in the last few Monday videos, I have put them away so that they don't run out and act crazy. Today, I did not do that because I think that they're growing as little kitty individuals. And so hopefully I don't regret this. So if you see the cats walk by, that's fine, as long as they don't start being terrorists. Anyway, it's Monday. I'm excited that it's Monday. Thank you as always for everyone who comes and joins and watches the video on Mondays. Thank you to everyone who comments because I love comments and you guys made me super happy with all the comments last week. Of course, I tried to make sure that I answer all of my comments prior to the uploading of the next Monday video. So if you left me a comment last week on last Monday's video, you'll definitely have a response before this particular video comes up. Thank you so much for all of your responses, okay? Because I know one of the things that I mentioned in that video, if you did, Tiger Bomb, don't do that. Okay. What I was saying was thank you for your responses on the video because one of the things that I mentioned in that video, and I'll leave a card for those of you who didn't see it, was that I felt like, I'm aging, I'm getting older, having children within the next few years is possible, but we don't really know about that because we're going to be 36 very shortly. And so it was nice just to read your stories for all the people that said that they had children older, for the ones that specifically put out their age. Like, I got married at 35, I had my first baby at 42, or I had my first baby at 38, and I'm trying for my second one per surgery, all sorts of things. Thank you so much. Because, it's not helpful when you go to the doctor's office and you're 30 years old and they're like, oh, girl, advanced fetal maternal age or advanced maternal fetal age, that type of thing. So it's nice when you can hear the real stories of people who actually did it. So I really appreciate everyone who left a comment and told me their own personal story for sure. I do have a little list for people that I want to shout out in reference to comments, and then I'll tell you a little bit about my weekend, and we'll see if Miss Eclair stops playing with this bag. So this might be short-lived, y'all. This whole leave the cats out situation. I mean, generally, they are usually within my space. They like to be around me. And I thought maybe they were just gonna sit. Like there's one sitting here and the other one's doing, we'll see. Okay, you just hold on a second. Ma'am, don't play with the bag. Don't play with the bag. Say hi to the people. Say hi to the people. You're much bigger. Say hi. Tell them you were playing with the bag. Living your best life. Yeah? Watching Tiger Bomb. And yeah. Okay. Here, let's put you down over here. Maybe it'll get a little better. Anyway. So first I'm going to just give a shout out to everybody who wrote last week, and I have on this little handy dandy postcard as I do always, and then the question of the day, which is actually from last week's video. So shout out to Arlette, Blush Tress, Smiley, Beautiful Southern Roots, Glory Days, Megan, Naomi NYC, Eminem Cookie, and I know you're probably like, girl, it's 3 M's. I just don't know how I would say that. Triple M Cookie. Mimi, Sasha, and Miss Jessica, thank you all so much for commenting, and you'll see my personal responses very soon. Well, I guess by now you would have already seen them. Anyway, had a great weekend. I will post some pictures. I did another camping event. So the week prior, I went on a camping trip, like a personal camping trip, and then this week I went on a hobby-based camping trip, because I might have mentioned it just a tinge here on this channel, but I don't think that I mentioned it fully. But I do period reenacting, and that basically means that I reenact older times from the 1200s to the 1600s. And by reenacting, I don't mean like I'm out here being an actor and, you know, talking in old English or anything. But I'm not really sure what other way I would describe it. I did actually get a few clips from it that I may add at the end of this video. I don't think I'm going to turn it into a vlog, so I may add it at the end of this video so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. It's very hard to get footage of those things because they're supposed to be based in period and, you know, back in the 1200s, 1300s, 1400s, 1500s, 1600s, there were not cell phones. So it doesn't look good if you have your cell phone out all the time. Because one, it takes them away from the immersion of it, and two, having a cell phone is not period. That's a new age thing. So anyway, what I'm gonna do is go over a question that I got last week, which actually was a pretty good one. There were two last week that I got that I was unsure on which one I was gonna do, but the great thing about these Monday videos is that I have every Monday to be able to do them. So I'll do this one this week and I'll do the other one next week. Before the main question, let me answer another one real quick. And that other one is, will I do Vlogmas or Vlog-A-Days this year? Like, what's my plan for that? And I don't have a plan for that. To be honest, I was definitely not considering doing Vlog-A-Days or Vlogmas this year, because the thing is, I get asked about it, and there are a select few people that really love and enjoy it, and they watch it every day, and it's great. But the amount of effort that it takes to put out all those videos, y'all, is a lot. Because it's literally vlogging from the week of Thanksgiving all the way into New Year's. But then it's also editing those videos every single day. And the amount of time it takes to edit a video to turn it around and only 10 people watch it. That's a whole lot of effort during the holiday season that I'm not really sure that I'm going to make, because I don't have the commitment here on this channel for people to really watch them. Because what I'm learning is that you guys in this stage of my life prefer sit-down videos. So maybe I'll do some sit-down Vlog-A-Days thing. I don't know. I haven't thought it all the way through. But I don't think I will do full vlogs the way I've done in the past, where I share my like daily days every day until the holidays, because I would have to have far more people watching at this point for me to be able to do that. If all of you who watched these Monday videos watched my vlogs, then I would consider it. But that doesn't happen, and that's fine. It just means that I likely won't do it. So sorry to the people who are really looking forward to that. Maybe I'll think of a happy medium. I'm not sure. But anyway, so today's question is, why did I stay? And I read it and I thought, you know, that's a good question, because other people are probably asking the same question. And so the question, let me read it out specifically. After my divorce, is there a reason I decided to stay in Virginia? So if you don't know, I live in Virginia. I have lived in Virginia for the last... People ask me this question and I'm often not very sure, but I'm going to say for at least the last 5 years, because I have a vlog with my niece on there where I was doing, girl, she took me out of my train of thought. I have a vlog where I had my niece for her very first Christmas. She turned 5 this year. I'm pretty sure I was living here at least a year before that. So somewhere between 5 and 6 years. So after my divorce, why did I stay and choose to stay in Virginia, right? I'm originally from New York, born and raised in good old New York City, from the Boogie Down Bronx, as it's more affectionately known. And I lived there for a vast majority of my life. When I wasn't living there, I ended up living in Georgia. And let me tell you, I fell in love with Georgia. I had not lived any other place prior to that time. So what I knew of my life and living was based in New York City. And New York City is super fast paced, okay? You are constantly on the move, okay? Like constantly on the move. You have to go to work and you got to do different places, go to different places. Most people don't drive. Everyone takes public transportation. It takes some time, but we have one of the best mass transit systems in the States, in my humble and personal opinion, you know? And so a city life, in comparison to a more like suburban life is very, very different. And up until the time that I moved to Georgia, and I was much younger, I'm going to say maybe I was 19 when I moved to Georgia. Prior to that point, I had only lived in New York. And I had visited Georgia, I had visited other places, but I wasn't really sure on my feelings about them in terms of living, because when you're born and raised in New York City, it's a special kind of feeling. You know what I mean? It's a special kind of feeling. We're called the Big Apple. We had and still have, well, we had the World Trade Centers. We have One World Trade now. The Empire State Building. It's a place that everyone goes and wants to visit and see. And it's a wonderful time. But also there's an understanding that, like, if you want to live in New York City, you have to make a certain caliber of money. And if you don't make that certain caliber of money, then you probably are going to have roommates for a very, 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 very long time. Okay, she about to go. So just, I'll be right back. Come on, girl. Come on. Come on, because this ain't gonna work out. And we're back. So it seems like it's going to take just a little bit more time before they're actually ready for me to be able to leave them out while I make videos. But I tried. I figured it'd been a few weeks. Maybe it'll work. They didn't just sit down nice and calmly how I had expected. So there's that. But anyway, so I did that. When I was, what age did I go to Georgia? I don't know. Sporadically, I went to Georgia for little trips because my aunt lived in Georgia. And so I would go and I would visit her. And just about after high school, I knew that I wanted to move and that I likely wanted to move to Georgia because I enjoyed it. And in Atlanta, it was more of a city, but not a big city like New York City, if you've been to New York City, okay? And so I like that, and I like that outside of the little city that you have the option of living in these little suburban pockets of land. I enjoyed the culture there. I enjoyed the diversity there. It was really good. Now, I can't speak for Atlanta right now because I'm very far removed from that time. But the years that I did live in Atlanta, I absolutely loved it. I loved it and enjoyed it. I lived in Conyers for a little bit. For those people that are watching from Georgia, I used to work at a mall. I think it was called Perimeter Mall. I used to work at Perimeter Mall. And I had a good time because it's one of those places that was different from where I grew up, but I also could get around. Because I was originally from New York, I didn't drive. And that becomes a problem when you live in places that depend on drivers. You know what I mean? Where you're, not that depend on drivers. Where you're getting around is dependent on you having a car, is what I'm trying to say. But as you know, I am now 35 and I still don't know how to drive, so I guess there's something to say about that. I feel like you can get around and do things outside of the norm if you have to, want to, whatever. So, more stories. Moved to Georgia. Loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. At the time, me and my ex-husband were not together. We had met in high school. We were all in love, all that good stuff. Okay. And we ended up breaking up just before I decided to go to college. And that was largely because we wanted to, what was the word? It was something about experience. I remember that, like when we talked about it, it was, I'm going to college, going to be having a new experience. I was going to be living a little further away, even though still in New York. And we thought it was best to do that, at least for me to see some parts of life and, like do different things. And so it was amicable at that point. There was no reason that we were breaking up for like lying, cheating, any of that other stuff. That was just the thing. So we chose to do that. And then after that, I went to school there and then decided that I wanted to go to Georgia and move to Georgia. And I took the leap and I moved to Georgia. While I was in Georgia, I ended up reconnecting with Steven. Steven is my ex-husband. We'll just use the name Steven because I think you guys know that name. Ended up reconnecting with Steven while I was in Georgia. And although I was loving it and having a great time and I loved my place and all the rest of the other stuff, I was in college. Stephen was a little older than me. So I was still in college and Stephen was in the midst of his career already as an accountant. And so I decided that, I was so in love. Oh, the things we do for love. I moved back to New York. And when I moved back to New York, it was always a thing where I was going back to Georgia. Me, her, she. I was going back to Georgia. So we could come here, we could do this thing. I could go to school in New York, come back, And if you don't know, my entire family lives in New York, practically. The few family members that don't live in New York live in Kansas City. And if they don't live in Kansas City, then they live on an island somewhere like St. Kitts, St. Thomas, because my family's West Indian. So my mom, my dad, my sisters, my grandmas, everybody lives in New York. And I was the only one, and with the exception of my aunt, that decided to move away and whatever. So anyway, long story short, I moved back to New York for love, but also always knowing that my heart was in Georgia. Like I liked it. I liked that it was a little slower paced. Because I'm just thinking of all the things. Like I just liked so much and enjoyed so much about it. And it didn't take away from my love for New York, because let me tell you, I'm a ride or die. I'm a ride or die for New York, okay? So it didn't take away from that, but I knew after moving to Georgia that I no longer wanted to live in New York City. That I loved New York City. I wanted to come and visit. I wanted to go on vacation and spend time with my family, but I didn't want to live there. Because what I found growing up, when you live in New York City and you grow up, you get accustomed to living a certain type of life, right? And then when you move and you realize that that same type of money affords you a completely different kind of life, you lean more towards the completely different kind of life where you can get way more for your money than you can ever in New York City. And besides the fact that I wasn't really all that sold on the coal, but that's neither here nor there. So, get there, we're going to be together, we are together, all the things, always known that we were moving back to Georgia, family knew, get married, moving to Georgia, So after he proposed to me, we ended up getting married, and we always had a plan to move to Georgia. So how did we end up in Virginia is the question, and why am I still here? So we ended up in Virginia. I was gonna say my ex, we were saying Stephen had his dad that lived here. So I had a set of in-laws that lived in Virginia, and we had visited and we liked it. It was cool, not too bad. It had its own little version of a city. It still had the same like suburban type of thing. It wasn't as far away. So a drive from New York to Georgia was something like 16 hours or something like that. A drive from New York to Virginia is about 6, 7, depending on how slow or fast you're driving. The same with Georgia, 16 to 18. But that was the plan. We were moving, we were gonna go to Georgia. My mother-in-law ended up actually getting sick the week of our wedding. And she was feeling pretty bad. She was saying like just after it. And so a lot of things changed in that time immediately after we got married, because she was there, she was sick. Ultimately, she was diagnosed with cancer, and we made the decision that we needed to be much closer. So we still wanted to do what we wanted to do, which was move and be someplace that was a little further and where we could get more like land for our money and so on and so forth. But we also wanted to be close enough to my mother-in-law. So we ended up staying and living in New York far longer than what we had planned, and also staying with her for a good bit of time and the beginning of all of this to help take care of her. And so a lot of the videos from the very beginning of my channel, which I'm sure you can see, you can go back, were when we were staying with her and we were taking care of her at that time. And so what we decided was the happy medium was going to be Virginia, because Virginia was only a 6.5 hour drive. If we needed to get there in case of an emergency, it took only about an hour, 15 minutes to fly there, and a quick drive. His dad was here. It was a happy medium right in the middle before getting down to Georgia that we both would be very happy with, because we enjoyed our time here. And so that's where we chose to, make our life and things like that. Virginia. That's how we got here. In the beginning of this year, I should probably say mid-year. So mid-year, Stephen actually decided to move back to New York. He decided to move back to New York. He says that he still lives in Virginia, but he's living in New York. Don't ask me. I don't know. But according to him, he still lives in Virginia. I don't know if he'll ever move back, but currently he's living in New York City. The reason why I decided to stay was because I love it. And because I know that I don't ever want to move back to New York City. Like I said in the beginning, I enjoy it when I'm there. I love my family when I'm there. I love visiting. It has some of the best theater shows ever, some of the best restaurants, some of the best touristy things, some of the best food you're gonna get. Let me tell you, if you haven't visited New York City, you totally should visit. But I just wouldn't want to live there anymore because I've seen that I can get far more for my money living in another place. And the question has always been like, well, if you were rich, would you move back? I might consider that. If I was rich, if I was out here rich, I might, because that affords me a different type of living, and a different type of accessibility there that I don't have here. But then I think, well, if I was rich, I probably would go buy myself a super house someplace else, because that same bit of money is going to afford me this little piece of parcel that I could get this piece of parcel with someplace else. So I stayed because I love it. And I stayed because I enjoy it. And I stayed because I've lived here for the last couple of years. And I've established things here. And I'm used to being here. And I wouldn't be leaving anytime soon anyway because of my program that I'm in, my sonography program. But the one thing that I have been giving a lot of thought to is that once I finish and graduate my program here, I could literally go anywhere. And that's something that I've really been giving great thought to because, as you know from my last video, I love to travel. And so once I'm done with this program, I can move anywhere. Like I can move anywhere. When I go places and I go on vacation, I check to see if they even have jobs for what I am going to school for, which is cardiovascular sonography. And they have jobs everywhere. Like everywhere. So no matter where I move, I would for sure be able to get a job in my field. And so that brings about a wonderful flexibility that gives a lot of thought in my mind to where I might want to go next. So I may not be in Virginia. I don't know that I'll be in Virginia forever, you know. It really just depends on where life takes me. But I'm really enjoying having the flexibility and the ability to just go and move about when the time happens, because I'm sure I'll be making a decision one way or another where I will be when I graduate from my cardiovascular sonography program. And so for now, I'm here in Virginia, but there's possibility that I may be someplace else. Who knows? Who knows? And as a matter of fact, if you live in a place where you really love, you can comment in the description box. You can comment in the comment section when we write and we have our little dialogue, and let me know where you live and why you love it, because I can consider it. I can ask. Now, here's the thing. I don't want it to get too cold. Like, I lived in New York City my entire life. I don't want it to get too cold. Now, I love snow. I will tell you that. I do love snow. And I did very much miss snow when I moved here to Virginia because I live closer to the coastline. So we usually don't get much snow, maybe once or twice a year. And it's usually like little splats. Last year, we got a whole bunch of it. So who knows? The world might be coming to an end. But let me not joke like that. Don't joke like that. Let me not joke like that. I'm not going to joke like that. That's not funny. Let me not say that. But yes, definitely comment and let me know if you live somewhere that you actually love. And only if you love it, then comment below. So then I can go and look into it and see where I might want to move next. Anyway, so yes, please be sure to leave questions below so we can continue to have this discussion. I actually started making, and I didn't bring it downstairs, I actually started making a book. So I have a book with ongoing questions for all the questions that you guys ask me. And so that we never run out for a Monday video. It's always helpful if you guys just leave a question, whatever question comes to mind about whatever you like, and I will get on here and answer it. And if I feel like it's too personal and I don't want to answer it, I will likely get on here and say, oh, well, that's to whatever, or this is my reason for whatever. So yes, thank you so much for your questions. I always appreciate it, and I will see you guys next Monday. I didn't do my commercial break in the middle, but I will be posting 2 other videos this week, and they will largely be about school. I want to say they'll largely be about school. So somewhere this week, twice up in there, be sure to come back and watch. And at the end of this video, I may do a few clips from my vlogging this weekend while I was away doing SCA related reenacting things. All right, guys, I hope you guys have an amazing week and that this Monday is a start to a very good one for you. And I'll see you next week. Bye. Good morning from my sleeping bag. I'm tired. You ever lay in the morning? Hold on, let me take this sleeping bag off. You ever lay in the morning and you lay in your bed and you think, I am not getting up. I know I have things to do, but I'm just gonna lay here because it's early and I was up late, and so I'm not getting up. And I've probably been laying here like the last maybe 35 minutes or so. And then my friend comes over, Cindy, to my tent, by the way. It's my tent. Let me see if I can show you. Tent. It's a little messy right now. Cindy comes over like 2 minutes ago, just like, knock, knock. I'm like, yes. So don't forget that court is at 8:30. I'm like, I didn't forget. I was ultimately going to get my butt up and get out there, but when you snuggle up in a sleeping bag, you think, maybe not. All right, so if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm here at an SCA event because I do reenacting, and I think I've spoken about this, but I've never actually done any video on it. But I guess I would call it like period reenacting or period immersion, or I don't know. But the short version of it is that I go to events and I'm a part of a community that does period-based reenacting. And it's based in the 1200 to the 1600s. I've been doing it for almost 3 years now. I never get footage of it because it's period based, and that means that everything that we do and wear and all the things is all based in like the 1200s to the 1600s, which means that there were no cell phones, and so it's not common for people to walk around with a cell phone like how we do now and like film everything. But we do take pictures and stuff, so I'm gonna try to get some clips of different stuff so that you can actually see it. But yeah, you don't get a whole heap of this because if you're trying to be period, there's no cell phones and things. I need to take my watch off too, but anyway, more of the story is it's 7:30. I need to get up. I need to put my clothes on, and I'll see if I can get some pictures of that. Oh, and so also all the clothes that I wear are clothes that I made. So my dresses and things that you may see they will all be clothes that I made. And I still haven't figured out if I'm gonna wear the same one outfit today or if I'm gonna change it at night or whatever. But if you're interested in seeing this come together, keep watching. All right, so here's my outfit. I am in her shed, and this is the only way I can actually get you a view of things. Like I said, most people have tents, and then there are mundane tents, and then there are camping tents, and then there are people that have permanent structures. And so this is one of them. But anyway, so this is my dress here. It's not as long as I'd like for it to be. I would have liked for it to be floor length, but it's one of the first dresses that I made for this particular type of play. And so this is a dress that goes all the way up, and this is actually a hood that I made, and it has a back to it. And this particular style is considered period, and I'll actually put some pictures in so you can see a dress from that time period that was part plaid and then also part some other color. All right, so here, by the way, I have the wrong shoes on, but see here, This is my tent that I'm staying in. My friend Cindy, which I'll pop in a picture of my outfit, is in this little shed here. She has a permanent fixture. So some people have permanent fixtures, but most people have period tents, which is that. So this is considered a period tent. This is more in line with the time of tents at that time, between the 1200s and 1600s. And, you know, this is what we would call a mundane tent. Those there, canvas tents, those are more period tents as well. So it's 8:20, 10 minutes to court, and I'll show you what court is exactly when I get there. But I'm doing good. Got some tea, and I have a few strips of bacon in this paper towel.
Form and strength of the Atlantean Order of Chivalry!
Vivas! Vivas! Vivas!
So these are more period tents and things. And so there are a bunch of different things to do if you're wondering like what happens at a camping event like this. A whole bunch of things. So there's court, there's a king and a queen because it's based in medieval times. There's squires, as you know. There are ladies, sirs, all the things. But in terms of actual things you can do, there's rapier fighting, there is heavy fighting, there's equestrian stuff, which I should go down there and show you guys the horses. There's a lot of arts and crafts related things. You can do blacksmith, you can do crafts. Most of us sew our actual like garments and clothes. That's most common. In period times, there's competitions and all sorts of things. So it's definitely a good time. I'll try to make a list here on the side because I'll be going, oh, there's archery. I'll be going on and on. So I'll just put it on the side.